Hello everyone and welcome back. We are going to be doing something a little bit different today, but I think this needs to be addressed because for years this has been an ongoing issue, and I think that after 600 hours of messing around with settings and using multiple wheels, I think I've finally figured out a big problem, especially with the T300 RS tutorials, and it's probably that you're setting up your wheel wrong. And you are also getting some very wrong information in a lot of cases here. So I'm going to go through a little tutorial here on how to set up your T300 and how to get the best force feedback settings for any vehicle in pretty much any scenario, from drifting to cutting up in no Hesse. So what we're going to do first is we are going to type in control panel. Go back here. And we're going to open up our T300 RS. Personal preference here, default is 900 degrees, which is good for a lot of people. I personally play at 1080, especially when I play with BeamNG, so I like to keep it up here. So we're going to go over to the settings tab, and you're going to see overall strength of all forces, and we are going to set that from 75% all the way to 100. This will make a little more sense a little later in the video, but for now, we're also going to put the constant, periodic, and damper up to 100% and take the spring down to 0. From my knowledge, this is not something that Assetto Corsa uses, but just to be safe here, we will turn it right down. Boost for the constant spring will be off, and we will do a by game auto center settings. And once we are done, we will click apply and OK. We can now click OK to close that window. And we are going to go into Content Manager next. Now, what we are going to do is go into Settings, Custom Shader Patch, and then on the left-hand side, we are going to scroll down till we see FFB Tweaks for force feedback tweaks. We are going to enable Basic, enable the more physically accurate gyro implementation, and then we are also going to go to Clean Force Feedback. Now, if it is not loaded already by default, I would also recommend going to the bottom and going to the McPherson Strut Force Feedback Adjustment. This will just make sure that if there is anything that has weird wonky physics, it will fix it. So we'll go into our Assetto Corsa settings now, and we will go into controls. What we're going to do here is go into the axis and make sure that your degrees of rotation is set to the exact same as it is in your control panel. For me, that's 1080. And if it's 900 for you, just put 900, 540, 720, whatever you want for your personal settings. Make sure that that is matching. Obviously now set your gears, your paddles, whatever you would like, but we're really worried about the force feedback here. So what we're going to do is set the gain from 100% all the way down to 30. And the reason for this is because we are running 100% in the control panel, so we are getting our full power from our wheel already. We don't need to be adding more gain to it. So lowering this to 30 gives us a good mix of enough speed of rotation that we can obviously catch the wheel and drift and spin. At the same time, though, it is not enough that it's going to be ripping the wheel out from our hands, and it's not going to be a fight anymore, especially with snap oversteer and stuff like that. So after you have your gain settings set to 30, we're going to go to filter and set it to 0. As for minimum force, 2%. And as for the effects settings here, you're going to see that these are way higher than a lot of people's settings. Normally people have them at about 10 to 25%. And this comes down to personal preference, but for me, I have a Next Level GT Racing foldable seat. And with that, if I turn up the curb effects, road effects, slip effects, and ABS, I actually can feel the vibration through the wheel itself. And it does provide me with a little more feedback than what you would get normally. So again, personal preference, but in a lot of cases where you would have your gain set to 75% to 100% or even higher, having these effects going on can actually hinder the experience of your wheel. It could slow down rotation, it could cause overheating, and this is what we're doing, is preventing all of this from happening. So with these high settings, with the low gain, we are getting a consistent wheel rotation, and there is no problems with any force feedback skipping or anything like that. Again, this does come down to personal preference. I know for a fact that my partner does not like the ABS or slip effects, so when she plays, we do turn this off. But for most of the other stuff, it's pretty much the same. After we have figured that out, we're going to go over to post-processing, and we're going to make sure our center boost gain is at 0%, as well as our center boost range at 10%. We're then going to enable force feedback post-processing, and we are going to set it to gamma, and the gamma should be by default about 50%, I think. We are going to up that to 100% though. The next thing that we are going to do is make sure that our low speed threshold is 3 kilometers an hour, and our low speed force feedback settings, force feedback strength, sorry, is at 1%. And here's where the main part comes in. With that setting in custom shader patch, we are going to want to now go into the experimental section and do unlock experimental options, as well as gyroscopic effects. Now the damper gain is going to be right up to 100%, and then we are going to do a minimum damper level of 1% here. This should allow us to have a fairly tight control scheme without it feeling too heavy or too light. These new force feedback tweaks that were in the custom shader patch really do help. For me personally, I was struggling with Assetto Corsa for a long time, despite having 600 plus hours, because some cars would feel very, very good at, say, 75% gain and no experimental features, and everything felt really, really good. But then you would move to, say, a high horsepower car or something that was, I know Clutch Gang in particular is very rough on their force feedback. They like to up everything, and all of a sudden your settings would feel awful. You would be fighting with your wheel, you would have strain on your wrists and your forearms, and there would be a lot of snap oversteer that would happen that would kind of ruin the experience for you. And this kind of gets rid of it all for every kind of car. With the exception, you will have to go into like your actual settings for the individual cars, and you may have to adjust between 100% and about 80%. I will show how to do that afterwards, but once you have all these settings, you are pretty much good to go. And another thing to keep in mind is if you do have a car that has the auto force feedback, I would highly recommend using that. So what we'll see here is this is a A86 that is made with Arch Physics, and it does have that same feature I was just talking about in mind. So what we're going to do is load up, and I will just close that off for a second. But I hope this helps. This will feel weird for people that are running on high force feedback settings or running on, I guess, overall faster wheel settings. But trust me, this is more accurate to a normal car than a sim, I guess. That was one thing that I really dealt with a lot, that I had trouble with. Like I said, some cars would feel great, others would feel like the wheel was just being ripped from my hands. So hopefully this helps other people who are having the same problems here. And yeah, if you guys have any problems or any questions, have any input that you'd like to add into here, please feel free to message in the comment section, and I will get back to you right away about that stuff. I'm fairly active, so if there are any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. But I hope this helps some people, and yeah, enjoy drifting.